kind of a humorous little anecdote, though. He was, you guys came to Japan after you released Led Zeppelin 3. And we were doing like an acoustic number on stage, and he was like third from the front. And he waved at you, he waved back. One of the great memories of his youth there. You just wanted to point that
Okay,
out.
well, one of my recollections of being over here was that, you see, we started to pace the set so that we used to have a drum solo over it, obviously, you know, and that would be the point where we would rush back and have a drink and go to the loo if necessary. There's another part of it, it could have been Osaka actually, where we did an acoustic set, you know, and that's when John Bonham used to go off, and it just so happened that he didn't come back on stage, and we had the whole audience chanting, "Mr. Bonham, Mr. Bonham," and finally he appeared.
What happened?
I don't know, I think he got stuck in the toilet or something, I don't remember. Or it was a long walk to the toilet or something like that, yeah.
Well, so your acoustic...
so that was, yeah.
It was extended. It was extended.
Yeah, we did, yeah, that's right, it was in fact. We
Yeah,
played Friends that night, which we had never played that.
Is that right? Well, that may be the reason why he asked us, because he said you guys did like a sort of an acoustic session. So he said for
but we used to do that anyway.
Uh-huh.
We had, you know, we had employed the acoustic set, so to speak, by this point.
Did you think you were like breaking the rules for a hard rock band? Was it rather daring to do that at the time?
Well, were we a hard rock band? We certainly played hard rock music,
Yeah, well, that's what you...
but we also played, as I said, you know, we played music that's thunderous one moment and then like a whisper the next. So
Yeah.
it was all part of the light and shade and the contrast. And
Dynamics.
that's why we could do a 3.5 hour set and people weren't bored, because we just went through so many different areas of music.
Getting to the rather historical fourth record, Stairway to Heaven was the first time you guys put lyrics on the inner sleeve.
Yeah, that's right.
Was that because you considered, you must have thought it was a very significant effort to take the time and trouble?
Oh, I thought the lyrics were, well, we all did. I mean, Robert was really inspired at that point when we actually rehearsed the number. So actually it took quite a lot of running through because it was a lot to remember. And to get across, you know, and he was sort of listening to it and starting to jot down things, you know. And, when we actually came to the point of running it all the way through, you know, from beginning to end, we were saying, well, how about trying to sing it along? He had about 80% of the lyrics already done, so you can pretty much say that he was really inspired by this, you know. And it was, you know, yeah, sure, we put the lyrics in there.
Did you think that he had kind of lived up to your expectations, your original vision with that song?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. What do you mean as far as me writing lyrics, you mean?
Well, I mean, you said you had originally wanted him to become his own lyricist. And I guess
sure, I'd wanted him to do the lyrics, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, oh, of course, yeah, but I mean, so the whole, every single member of the band was really in overdrive, you know, even, you know, on that album and even further through, you know. What you're saying there, I mean, we're just sort of talking about Robert, maybe my contribution, but we certainly mustn't forget, you know, for instance, John Bonham's. I mean, he's such an inventive drummer, I mean, the like of which we won't ever see again. You know, every drummer will pay homage to John Bonham.
I guess another notable element of the fourth album is the jacket itself. Whereas the first three just were sort of regular album jackets, the fourth seems sort of conceal certain meaning or significance. Is he reading too much into it?
No, it is. Oh, it is. It's well, to begin with, it's untitled. That came as a result of having just getting totally bored with the sort of reviews that we had, and frustrated with certainly with the record reviews, that, you know, because I guess it just went over their heads, to be honest with you, on a first listening on some of these, like the third album, for instance. You know, probably listening for A Whole Lot of Love, which wasn't there, and missing the whole point. And we decided to put out an album that was untitled. just as a statement to say, well, here we are. Doesn't matter what you think, reviewers. Or basically, if you don't like it, you don't have to. You don't have to be part of it and buy it. But yes, it's an old countryman with taking his sticks back to his own sticks that he's collected away. It's just the old country way of life, and it's on a building which is being demolished, which is the old ways of going, and then you've got all the sort of skyscrapers going up. Yeah, paving grass with concrete type of statement.
Well, so the intention was you're trying to say there's more to this band than just the hard.
No, I mean you asked me. Didn't you ask me to describe what the cover was about?
And you were saying, but
I did.
The other part of the question was why did you decide to do something that had some sort of a message or some sort of meaning to it, whereas the first three didn't seem to have that? What change took place in the band that would compel you to do something like that?
Well, I guess just the band's maturity, I suppose. It's part and parcel of what it's about, really, isn't it? Yeah. Development.
He was just saying he asked the question because you were recognized or pigeonholed as just a hard rock outfit in certain quarters, and maybe you guys felt it was time to kind of.
But who buy? Who buy? This
critics,
is the point.
Fans.
Well, there you are. Not you're answering the question, aren't you?
But did you want to shake up sort of the people with something like?
No, not at all. No, the only. As I say, putting out an untitled album at that point in time, you can imagine I had a hell of a job with the record company. One hell of a job.
They didn't know what to make with it.
No, I sat in an office with the lawyers for a whole couple of hours. And they argued the fact that you had to have Atlantic's name on it, and I said, well, we don't want anything on it. Even that's a clue. If you want it, you can put it on the inside, so when they open it, they can see it as they pull the record out. But they didn't really want the idea of putting through a second printing, so they gave in the end. Yeah.
The fifth album, he thought, was a major departure, in that it seemed each song seemed more whole, seemed more rounded, seemed more solid. If looking back in retrospect, how do you see the fifth album? What do you see as the differences from the record before that?
I don't know. Well, certainly the third album and the fourth album touched on environmental issues within the lyrics, that's for sure. Although that's not answering the question. It was just you see, it was just that when we went to record that, it was just a summing up of where we were at that point of time with the writing. Mm-hmm. As I say, not having to bother about coming up with a follow-up to a single or whatever, because there weren't any singles, and that's what all the albums really were anyway.
Mm-hmm. So, I'm not quite sure I follow you.
Well, I mean, we had the material that was written right at that point of time and recorded. Mm-hmm. And so really that was a summing up of where we were at musically.
Mm-hmm. But is it hard for you to look back in retrospect and kind of, objectively size up? Because when we were talking about the 60s, everything seemed so clear, but now we're getting into the 70s and Zeppelin stuff, it seems like the answers are becoming kind of foggy.
Do they really?
Maybe the question,
you should ask better. Yeah, right, well then don't lumber me with that or you'll get a really nice answer. Do you believe that?
No, it just seemed like it was getting, maybe it was a little bit hard to. It's something you are not asked very much. Well,
probably not very much. I mean, considering I've probably been doing interviews around this sort of stuff for quite a long time now. Depending on trying to give it a fresh light on something, you have to really have a question that will stimulate you. And if you're saying it seems to be more of working more of a group as a group, I mean, I consider we were working as a group right from the start. I'm just saying that it matured as it went along.
I think what's happening, because the gentleman is such an aficionado, he's searching for hidden meanings.
Yeah.
And I mean, basically, in a phrase, music is what the band was saying.
Yeah.
And I think he's looking for a meaning behind the music and missing possibly the message, which is the music.
Huh. But what you're saying is...
I mean, that's my interpretation as an observer.
Yeah. I was wondering about,
putting words into Jimmy.
Yeah. It's tough to kind of pick apart music logically, because when you make it, you don't, say this goes here and this goes here. It's it all sort of comes together in your mind. And it's a creative pursuit.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to pick it apart logically. Maybe that's the problem with having it. It just seemed like, that we were kind of getting off base, and we were kind of confusing you with the questions there. So maybe the line of questioning was a little bit vague.
I just don't think there's an answer to the question. I think he's digging very deep and very. I mean, they're clever questions in that respect, but I don't think there is an answer personally. I really think the music is what the band was saying.
Yeah. If you had anything to say about the fifth album.
Well, I mean, we've said that basically on the fourth, the Sun-Tide ones, the fact that, the music is going to be, doing the talking for us, basically. So, and putting the record straight as far as what, this backlog of criticism that have gone on.
Yeah, kind
I think it's quite fair to say, as we're all sitting around here at this point in time, I mean, so many years later, I think we've proved our point.
Yeah, we'll tell you his favorite Zeppelin record is Presence, which probably took on a different approach because Robert had gotten injured in some way, I guess, before the recording of that record. So you were forced to take sort of a different approach. Is that?
Well, absolutely, because I mean, it was. Yes, it's a fact. Robert had had an accident and broken his ankle, and obviously the recording process was that was overlying everything. Seeing the guy sitting in being taken in a wheelchair and sitting on a stool and stuff all the way through the chair, all the way through it, and also the added fact that it had been said that they weren't sure whether this would break again once they took the cast off. So, sure, it was, maybe that sort of uncertainty and things might well have reflected in the music. But at the time, it was just a sort of, getting right back to sort of basics, and it was that was recorded in about 3 weeks actually, that album. But yeah, it is an interesting album, that's for sure.
When you say get back to basics, what do you mean?
Well, it was just getting into the studio, and we actually wrote some of the tracks before we got to. We recorded this in Germany while we were in LA, and had some of the structures for them. But other ones were actually written in the studio. While we were sort of doing it, but the whole thing was done in 3 weeks. So it was, really sort of fast, right back to, considering the one that preceded it was Physical Graffiti, which, in fact, that employed the track Houses of the Holy, which was the name of the album before that. But in fact, that was a track that was left over from that one, and there were a few. In the Light was another one. And that's why that became a double album, because we used the extra surplus that we had. And obviously that took quite a long time, a double album, so I wanted to go in and just really do one really quickly, and get just sort of basically get up, wake up, go in the studio until you couldn't, do any more, then go to the hotel, sleep, and back in the studio type of thing. Living the whole thing without any breaks or going home or anything, okay.
The record itself seemed to sort of project a sort of Led Zeppelin magic, is the word he uses, which I guess he hadn't heard for quite a while there. Had you guys been aware of it yourself, that something was something different? You said you wanted to get back to basics.
Well, as I say, that album was... I've given you the circumstances as far as the actual recording of it went. It was just we were staying in Munich for this 3 week period, and or 2 weeks in fact for the actual basic tracks and everything. And it was, as I say, recording, going to sleep, recording, going to sleep, recording. So it was a very, it intensified, project. So whereas, for instance, the preceding one, that had been recorded in many different places, on location, in studios, in town, and you know, all over the place.
So we actually maybe get the true essence of the band.
Well, in so much, you see, as the first album was done like that, you see, except that we were going home, you know, and then coming back to the studio. And this one, it was all part of the light and shade and the contrast. That's why we could do a 3.5 hour set and people weren't bored. Because we just went through so many different areas of music.
Getting to the rather historical fourth record, Stairway to Heaven was the first time you guys put lyrics on the inner sleeve.
Yeah, that's right.
Was that because you considered, you must have thought it was a very significant effort to take the time and trouble?
Oh, I thought the lyrics were, well, we all did. I mean, Robert was really inspired at that point when we actually rehearsed.
It was extended. It was extended.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, that's right. It was, in fact. We played Friends that night, which we'd never, we had never played that.
Is that right? Well, that may be the reason why he asked us, because he said you guys did like a sort of an acoustic session. So he said
but we used to do that anyway.
Uh-huh.
We had, you know, we had employed the acoustic set, so to speak, by this point.
Did you think you were like breaking the rules for a hard rock band? Was it rather daring to do that at the time?
Well, were we a hard rock band? We certainly played hard rock music,
yeah, well, that's what you...
but we also played, as I said, you know, we played music that's thunderous one moment and then like a whisper the next. So the number. So actually, it took quite a lot of running through because it was a lot to remember, and to get across, you know. And he was sort of listening to it and starting to jot down things, you know. When we actually came to the point of running it all the way through, you know, from beginning to end, we were saying, well, how about trying to sing it along? He had about 80% of the lyrics already done. So you can pretty much say that he was really inspired by this, you know. And it was, you know, yeah, sure, we put the lyrics necessary. There's another part of it, it could have been Osaka actually, where we did an acoustic set, you know, and that's when John Bonham used to go off, and it just so happened that he didn't come back on stage, and we had the whole audience chanting "Mr. Bonham, Mr. Bonham." And finally he appeared.
What happened?
I don't know. I think he got stuck in the toilet or something. I don't remember. Or it was a long walk to the toilet or something like that. Yeah.
Well, so your acoustic.
So that was, yeah.
It was kind of a humorous little anecdote, though. It was you guys came to Japan after you released Led Zeppelin 3, and we were doing like an acoustic number on stage, and he was like third from the front, and he waved at you, he waved back. One of the great memories of his youth there. He just wanted to point that out.
Okay, well, one of my recollections of being over here was that, you see, we started to pace the set so that we used to have a drum solo, obviously, you know, and that would be the point where we would rush back and have a drink and go to the loo if